It is officially post-Labor Day, which means college kids are back on campus, students are being sent back to school all across the country, and since this is America, we're going to make that about politics. Hey everybody, I'm Isaac Saul, and this is Tangle. Today, we're going to be talking about whether college is still worth it. Right now, tuition for attending a four-year institution is insane.
I declare bankruptcy!
Since 2011, the average annual cost at a four-year college has increased from $22,074 to $30,031 this year. Costs keep rising, and they are especially high for out-of-state public schools and private institutions, some of which can cost over $60,000 per year. All you parents out there, try not to imagine what you can do with that money.
Merry Christmas, baby.
Are you kidding me, Nathan? Did you seriously buy a car without asking me?
And while an in-state public education only costs an average of $11,500 per year in tuition, that's just tuition. The cost of room and board can often be required for at least a college student's first year, and that's increasing at an even faster rate. At the University of Chicago, the total cost for a student's first year can run over $80,000, and that's considered a good value. This is happening at the same time that more and more non-college jobs are becoming more attractive. According to an article published earlier this year by Bloomberg, salaries for non-college jobs are increasing at a faster rate than salaries for college jobs. Annual wage growth for jobs that require a high school degree has matched or exceeded the wage growth for jobs that require a college degree since 2018. To make that really simple, pay is going up for people who don't have college degrees, while pay is staying kind of stagnant for people who do have college degrees. In 2022, median annual pay was $52,000 for Americans with a bachelor degree. That's a 7.4% decline in inflation-adjusted terms, the steepest plunge since 2004, erasing nearly all of the pandemic-era gains. It was sharpest for those earning the most. Meanwhile, wages accelerated 6% in real terms to $34,320 for those who only have a high school diploma, the biggest gain in more than 2 decades. Of course, all of that is to say nothing of the recent graduates who are swimming in student loan debt. 84% of college graduates enter the job market with at least some debt, and the average amount of debt a college graduate took in 2020 was $29,000. But that's not to say that college degrees are worthless. College degrees offer expertise in areas of study and readiness to succeed in the job market. There's a growing need for education in STEM fields, and more students are graduating with STEM degrees to take advantage of that opening. Not just that, but there's been a long and convincing body of research that shows that doing the work to attend classes and graduate from college correlates strongly with increased job readiness and higher salaries. Then, of course, there's the social aspect. College is fun, and it sets up social networks for life. Right now, young Americans are growingly depressed and isolated, particularly young men, who are also increasingly going to college less than young women. Could missing out on this socialization be causing isolation? One could make a good argument that some of the social isolation problems that we see all across America right now could be solved by sending more kids to college to build up social networks and friend groups. That stuff, of course, is harder to measure. At the end of the day, going to college is still almost entirely about blunt economics. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, a 4-year degree was projected to add $27,000 to a person's salary annually. If the average college graduate left with $29,000 in debt, it still wouldn't be a hard choice to see where the benefits are. So, is going to college still worth it? To answer that question, as always, we're going to look at some takes from the right and the left, and then I'll give you my take. So, first up, let's start with what the right is saying. There is a growing skepticism on the right that a college degree offers the value that it once did. Writing in the National Review, Virginia Fox said the college degree for all mentality is a myth. This myth is built in 3 parts: academic, moral, and economic. Fox argued it's not true that universities are the sole talent-producing institutions in America, noting that many of the most successful people in the US did not complete college. Further, she says, college degree for all flips the good of education on its head. When we insist that every American go to college, the promise becomes a box to check, not a formative experience for citizens of a republic. Finally, college is failing to meet the demands of the modern workforce more each day, as colleges aren't producing enough young adults equipped to take part in the global economy. In the Wall Street Journal, Maryland's former governor Larry Hogan, a Republican, said a good education is the foundation to a successful career and a healthy civic society, but it doesn't necessarily require a 4-year degree. He noted the outrageous cost of college as evidence that the value of a degree is decreasing, while at the same time, some elite academic institutions are openly hostile to core American values like freedom of speech. He argued that the U.S. should reorient its education system to fit the economic and cultural needs of the 21st century and compete with rising economy powers like China. And in the Washington Examiner, Quinn Hillier just took a strong stance that college doesn't offer value for what it costs. The price of a degree can be attributed to factors like bloated administrative bureaucracies, construction of unnecessary new facilities and buildings, and the belief that people will pay no matter what the cost, even as graduates of the most elite colleges are woefully ignorant of basic civics and history, among other failings. Hillier added that the fault also lies in bad government policies that encourage massive borrowing and tuition hikes. He suggested the government should get tougher, not easier, on future college loan repayments and compel colleges to actually use the endowments for the benefit of students to reverse the many troubling trends in higher education. Before we continue though, if you feel like you're getting any value out of what we're providing here on this channel, we'd really appreciate it if you would hit subscribe, like the video, and turn on notifications. All these things help us with the algorithm and tells YouTube there's an audience out there who wants an honest look at views from across the political spectrum. All right, that is it for what the right is saying, so let's jump to the left. The left mostly thinks college is still worth it, but also acknowledges the reasons why some people are starting to doubt it in this case. In the New York Times, Christopher Zara said, "You learn the value of a college degree when you live without one. When we talk about college in the US, it's often through the lens of political and cultural differences," he said. But the education divide is equally about who gives us a chance, who lets us in the room, and which rooms we get to be in, Zara said. Zara shared his own experience of working in journalism and struggling to break into the industry without a degree, writing, "I can't take being in the room for granted." Ultimately, Zara thinks college is still a necessary way to secure professional opportunities, but wishes it wasn't the only way to do so. Christopher Eisberger, the president of Princeton University, recently made an impassioned case for the value of a college degree in the Washington Post. He cited research by economists at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York that found a 4-year degree generates an annual return of 14% over a 40-year career, adding that it's hard to conceive of a more reliable and cost-effective investment than attending and completing college. While he admits higher education has a complicated pricing model, that can lead to people overstating upfront costs and discounting the future payoffs. He maintains that college is the investment opportunity of a lifetime. However, not everyone on the left shares Eisgruber's opinion. In the New York Times, Ellen Ruppel-Shell said college may not be worth it anymore and asked if higher education is actually a driver of future stability or if people who go to college are already more positioned to be much more successful. She cites research that for Americans born into middle-class families, a college degree does appear to be a wise investment. But for those born into poverty, the results were far less impressive. College graduates born poor earned on average only slightly more than did high school graduates born middle class. And over time, even this small degree bonus ebbed away. In the end, she thinks the value of a degree will continue to ebb for those in the middle and below, calling this trend the growing chasm between educational attainment and life prospects. All right, that is it for the left and the right are saying, which brings us to my take. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, my take is where I give you my opinions on some of the thoughts we just shared. This is not meant to persuade you in any way, it's just my perspective. The hope is that you will leave your thoughts in the comments below. We want this channel to be a place for the Tangle community to connect and share. So whether you agree or disagree with me or anyone sharing, just keep it respectful and remember that we're all people looking to get a little bit closer to the truth. So I actually graduated college about 10 years ago, which isn't that long ago. And I want to start by sharing a little bit of my own personal story. I went to college to be an athletic trainer. My thought was I would give up on my dreams of being a writer for a more practical career path. But after I bombed the pre-med science classes that were required and aced some of my first English and writing classes, I decided to make a pivot. I joined the school paper, switched my major in nonfiction writing, and the rest is history. I was lucky though. My first semester of college did not go well. I was on academic probation. I had a GPA that was under a 2.0, and I was spending a lot of my time doing the socialization part of college.
Okay.
I was lucky though. I had a scholarship to attend college in the first place. I had parents who helped me a bit financially, and I ended up leaving school with something like $15,000 or $20,000 of student loan debt, some pretty good grades, and some extracurriculars that were aligned with my major. I also worked. I worked in school, during school, right after school. And to pay off my student loan debt, I spent the first year of my professional career living rent-free in my mom's apartment in Philadelphia and commuting to New York City for work every day.
Up from a thing on my robe.
You live with your mom.
I live with my mom because I choose to, because that's the only woman I've ever trusted.
For me, those kinds of sacrifices were worth it. I saved money, I lived frugally, I paid down my debt month by month, and the education I got in school offered me a huge number of opportunities. I also met a lot of people who were in my field, in journalism, in nonfiction writing, both in school and through some of the classes and extracurricular stuff I did, and those people helped guide me through the early years of my career. So despite spending a lot, and I mean a lot, of time on the fun parts of college, I also had a lot of career-building elements that came out of my education that helped me turn into the person I am today. I learned a craft, journalism. I made connections. I leveraged those connections into work, and now I have my dream job and the career I got my degree. In a lot of ways, I'm kind of a success story for college attendees, but my situation's also unique. I worked hard, yes, but I had a lot of luck and good breaks. Few of the people I went to journalism school with are still working in journalism, and many of the ones who are face constant job instability and crappy wages. I know some are still climbing out of debt 10 years later, and many will still be climbing out of debt for the next decade. To me, the "is college worth it" question is difficult to answer because you really need to know what you want to get out of college first. The biggest thing that you shouldn't do is go to college and rack up debt without a plan about how you're going to leverage your education into a degree. That is the biggest risk most American students are taking right now, and it's one that's only getting worse because college is getting more expensive. President Biden doesn't seem to have a cohesive plan about how to bring the cost of college down. He's just trying to forgive debt that people are taking on. And universities have shown no interest in going out there and reducing the cost of college on their own. I think a better question is going into X amount of debt worth it for the chance at Y career path? If the amount of debt is a lot and the career path is not very lucrative, the answer is probably no. If I had a college-aged child right now, my advice to them would be find a school that is affordable and offers you scholarship money, and if or when you are certain about what career you want, you can pursue it at that school or transfer somewhere else. And of course, I'd strongly encourage them to consider trade schools or alternative secondary degrees that could open doors to blue-collar jobs that are often more lucrative and reliable than the white-collar ones that were popularized by the last few decades of increasing college education. For instance, you could also consider my wife. She had a career in theater without going to college, and instead, she attended an acting conservatory. Then, when she wanted to go back to school, she attended a city school on a full scholarship, essentially going to school for free before deciding to go to law school, where she also got a scholarship. Now, she's set up to graduate undergrad and graduate school with very little debt. This is feasible, and in my opinion, is a very smart way to navigate our university systems. Ultimately, it's a personal calculation that's up to you. There's no doubt that getting a college degree can increase your ultimate earnings. The data on that is pretty clear. The question, though, is at what cost? How much debt are you going to go into? How far behind will you be once you get into the workforce? And are you going to go to college and really take advantage of the opportunities that it presents you? I'm 100% certain that college is a great way to meet lifelong friends, to make professional connections, and to learn a lot about yourself. But if you're looking at it as an economic investment, the question is a lot trickier, and you should definitely go in with a plan. I don't think college is the end-all be-all answer, but I do think if you can go to college and do it in a way that is affordable and makes sense for what you want to do, it's an experience that is well worth having. All right, that is it for my take, but I'm curious what you think. Do you believe that college is still worth it? What was your experience like? I'd love to hear from some of our viewers on this one. Leave a note in the comments and we'll try and address it in next week's video. Speaking of comments, last week I asked for the best argument that members of Congress who are getting very old and appear to have health issues should stay in office. One commenter said, the best argument for them to stay in office is their impairments don't matter. A senator's utility is their electability, their fundraising capabilities, and their vote. 99% of those three things are managed by by their aides. McConnell and Feinstein's brands are still strong enough to make them better at electability and fundraising than the alternatives, and their votes are 99% predetermined based on the party anyway, so stay in office forever. P.S. I want term limits. Noah, that is a very good answer, actually. I think that's about as good of an answer as I could have come up with, and it probably is the best argument for keeping these people in office. If you're a party leader, someone like Dianne Feinstein or Mitch McConnell or even Nancy Pelosi, who just announced that she was going to run for another term, is still super valuable to you because of their brand. And if you have a good team of aides around them, I presume they can get all the work done that they need to get done. So thanks. Good thought. I don't have much of a response to that. I don't even know if I could have made a better answer myself. All right, that is it for today's video. As always, if you want to support our work, subscribe, like the video, turn on notifications. We're bringing you content like this every week right here at this channel. And of course, we always want to hear your thoughts. So again, leave a comment on today's story. Let us know what you think about college and the affordability of college and if it's worth it. And we'll be back here same time next week. Have a good one. Peace. You think it's ridiculous I wore my We Like Ike shirt? A little self-indulgent, I guess.